chat. Welcome to the UTG show.
Like I said, this is going to be rapid fire. We got a lot of stocks to talk about, so most of this has been covered in the last video that I did last week for kind of further analysis. So this is more of a what happened this week, the results of it, and then what to expect. I've placed some trades. Some trades have been stopped out. We'll kind of go through that based on those conditions, but that's why we set stop losses. Anything that I would say that out of the list of stocks that I've already posted, if you have a question about it, throw it in the chat and probably tag me in it so it doesn't get lost. And also try to do it ahead of time so we can keep this thing rolling, because I covered these last week and I think it was like an hour video, or maybe it was 45 minutes, but I'm going to try and get through this a little bit quicker. Can you make your trading view screen bigger? Can you make your screen bigger? I can try. I mean, it's gonna fuck things up for me, dude. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can maybe do that if that works. 125 is maybe the max that I want to do, just because it looks funky. Anybody else have any issues, or are we good to go? Just some yeses in the chat if we're good. And okay, y'all can see my screen and hear me all right? All right, so let's go to root. Root. Are you with two dots above? All right. So root. You can see I have a ton of different harmonics drawn on this thing. However, from this completion point, right, in the last video we had talked about this completion near the golden pocket, but you were still a little bit too far away, and I wasn't let's say that optimistic yet. I wanted it to test the golden pocket first before looking at any type of entry point, right? At that point, we saw this TD8 on the countdown phase. It's this little blue asterisk occur. Usually when I see that, that kind of tells me that perhaps the trend might continue down, since this was the last TD count, right? And it starts over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes up to 13 then on the way down. We saw a potential reversal right here. However, look at all those top wicks indicating that the sellers were overtaking the buyers here, which canceled out the TD9 then, right? That would have occurred here for that reversal. So it canceled that out, and then you started seeing, if we maybe dive in a little bit closer here, but towards the end we started seeing a ramp up in sell volume. So if we make a kind of a volume wedge here, right? And you could even just take it from this point, because this kind of was the top of the trend, right? So we look at this volume wedge and see the first expanding sell volume candle with a wide body price action candle, indicating that this is going to distribute lower, in which case we saw it happen on this candle. You're inside the golden pocket. You just hit the bottom part, the underside of it, and you saw buyers start to step up. So this is kind of an expected entry, or sorry, an expected outcome of where we are. However, some of these other indicators are really looking not great for it. I think that long-term root is going to be a really good investment in the future. But looking at the other indicators that we have here, you have ADX and DMI negative now making hot coffee, which is not great. The trending move is indeed strong. And then you also had that bearish MACD, which now is continuing. It came back together right here, but since then it started splaying, right, worse to the downside. And so not ready yet. We need to see this thing kind of stabilize first and make a range, right? However that looks, we need to wait for that range so we can make an educated guess to place a trade rather than buying something that's doing this. That's not good, right? Because you're going to get clapped. You need to wait for this. And that will come up in the near future here as well when we talk about some of the other stocks. So, yes, we're starting to see buyers here. The TD count is still going. However, everything else looks like shit on the daily. Let's just check some of these other time frames really quickly. 2-day, did it make a lower low here? Yes, it did. So here's, don't like that. 2-day just made a lower low on the RSI, indicating that there is now officially no divergence between the two. So again, you can expect lower price action to come following that. The weekly has a TD 8 and 10, so next week likely to see that TD 9 come through. However, you just entered the bear zone on the weekly, which is fucking frightening, right? So you're not touching this thing. At a very minimum, you got to wait till next week to see what comes about. But right now, it's kind of sketch. So that's what we got on root. Hymns. I know a lot of people were in hymns, and I had taken a trade on hymns, but I had stressed in my play that if you make a lower low here, to set your stop loss just below that, right? So I have since then cut my trade on where I was. Hymns, though, I do not like, kind of the same reason as earlier, right? I don't like the ending daily candle here. A huge wide-bodied candle with increased selling volume, making a new lower low. That is not ideal. I think the 2-day chart was what I was kind of looking at. So the 2-day chart, kind of the same thing as root here, right? So you made a lower low on the RSI, which is going to indicate that there is no chance of divergence anymore. There's no more bullish divergence. The thing has been tested, the top of the bear zone, and made a lower low. So you should expect lower low price action to follow. Again, you're on a TD8 here, so in the next 2 days, that would make the TD9 candle print, which I assume should happen. But, same thing. Wait for the range to be established before taking a position, because right now it does appear that it is making a markdown phase, and we got to wait for buyers to step in before we can blindly place a trade, on a falling knife. We don't want to do that. So Same thing though on some of the other indicators here. Um, Again, hot coffee on the ADX DMI negative, and you have a 2-day bearish MACD cross. So further downward movement, I would expect. You're still kind of in this demand zone that was made prior. So this one, wait for the next couple days to see what happens. Maybe you get a giant terminal candle, and maybe we can, target maybe the upside where this flash is at 31.59, and then there's one at 35 bucks, which would be a cool little move. If the overall market does end up puking, you don't want to go long on, I would say, most of these smaller cap trades, and only look for maybe these quick little reversals, because you could still make 20% here, in this move. But I wouldn't necessarily look for the broadening market to go long on everything. That's hymns. Let's see. If you right-click the chart while drawing, it will return to cursor, so you don't have to manually click the icon. Thank you. I know I've made some indicators, but I'm still regarded in many other areas. So thanks for that tip. That's pretty sweet. Okay, that's hymns. PayPal. I know PayPal was a hot one too. People were talking about, and so was I. So PayPal, we were kind of hoping that this butterfly, or at least I was, that this butterfly were to complete, and so it didn't. It completed, but you saw further sell volume occur, right? Nice little expanding sell volume into these three candles here that were pretty decently wide comparative to the prior. In this parallel channel that I have drawn, you can see that it did enter the bottom of that, which did lead to a high effort but minimum results. Like, look how tiny this candle is, right, compared to the amount of volume that went in it, compared to the last three, basically. Could it be stopping the selling move? Potentially, but definitely not convinced right now. It's still kind of trying to find its footing here. We don't place a trade blindly on something that we can't identify its footing here. RSI, yeah, you made a lower low. Not ideal. I know it's got this volume wedge on the 4-hour, and we'll get into that in a second here. But ADX DMI is still making hot coffee, bearish MACD cross. Kind of looks like shit on the 4-hour here. So yes, the 4-hour, you do have this broadening wedge, right, that I have drawn here. And there may be glimmers of hope here. So you did have a TD9 on the 4-hour here, and then you kind of saw this this reaction. It's a good start. I'm not sure that it's enough yet for me to jump in right this second. I need to see follow through of this trending move. Need to see, bigger wide-bodied bullish candles, and I need to see that green volume break out of this wedge with that, right? That would indicate that buyers are stepping up in this zone, and they are ready to at least take it higher to a higher supply zone. Okay. So kind of chilling on PayPal. 2-day. That looks kind of gross for obvious reasons. Let's check the weekly on it, actually. Ooh, oh, God. Oh, that's disgusting. I didn't even see that. Holy shit. So, if anybody's been following Jackie on GME and the flash breaking out upwards, you have the complete opposite happening on PayPal. Looks like the flash had just exited this last week. So you should see an indicator pop up at about 56.60, but you would expect price action to continue away from the flash in this case. So that is fucking terrifying to me. So at that point, now I'm starting to maybe change my thesis. The weekly RSI also made a lower low, getting rid of any type of bullish divergence that maybe was there. This thing actually might crater to oversold territory, and maybe that might be the proper area to buy in at least from a risk reward perspective. And I know that we do have this demand zone right below us that I'd marked off from 50 to about $52. But something of this caliber, it might just blow through that, okay? And then, if that's the case, there is a bigger harmonic that I'm monitoring here. Down to this 886 fib level. There's also a flash at 3765. I think with the flash going off now officially, this could be super realistic, okay? And I think in most people's minds, this would be a screaming deal of a buy if this were to occur. So, this is also another reason why I like to do these things, go over some of these stocks, because I don't necessarily I might learn something myself as I'm going through these things, looking at some of these things that I might have missed prior. So this is kind of neat, but yeah, this is something to definitely pay attention to. Be careful about this one. This is definitely you need to be patient and wait to see what happens. And there might be a great opportunity in the near future here. Let's check out of curiosity. Yeah, so it's just started exiting the or the bottom weekly band is still cooking downwards. Honestly, we can probably get rid of that. Yeah, this thing looks gross right now. So icky, 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 icky. All right, so. Oh, looks like we're doing good on comments and questions. So, what are these channels you've been drawing lately? I love them. They are parallel channels. They tend to jive with Wyckoff stuff really well. And so it kind of helps identify trading ranges, highs and lows. You can use them in ascending and descending as well as flat. I know most people, they kind of look for the accumulation, to be very much like this, where it's just flat, but you can definitely have descending accumulations and the breakout and back test and go up, and similar to ascending channels. So I like to use these parallel channels because it really does help identify the trading range. Like you can see in this example on PayPal, look at all these top wicks, right? Rejecting this, but then you see support along the entire midline, basically up until it broke down and it came back, rejected that same line, and now we once again matched the bottom of this trend line. I like to use them a lot. If anyone's curious, these are my settings that I have set for it. You can use whatever you want. This is just what I use. But this definitely helps me identify accumulation and distribution ranges. Would you ever use a fib fork instead of these? Yes, yep, certainly could. I've done it both ways. This is just easier to me. I think they're both very, very useful, especially when you configure the fib fork to your Fibonacci sequence numbers. All right, looks good. On to the next. Victoria's Secret. VSCO. The tits. So I kind of want to maybe start on the monthly. So the monthly exited a flash to the upside, right? And so unfortunately caught this wave a little late, but we still made a nice 10%er basically from here and sold it up at the very top, which is pretty cool. I like that it entered the bull zone on the monthly. The monthly ADX is starting to cook up while crossing the DMI negative. MACD is going retarded right now, about to cross through the center line on both lines. I think that there is some more upside on this. I think it's super undervalued in general. You can see that we did wick into this supply zone on the monthly. If we were to draw, and I might have already done this, but yeah, I already drew this. So draw from the monthly top wick, right, to this untested, the top of the body of the next candle. This is your mega macro supply channel. And so we can see that we actually entered that and sellers rejected that immediately back down. But what I was looking at here is, let's see here. So the weekly, you're testing the bottom part of the bull zone. Okay, everything else is still fine, technically making hot coffee. I think that this might be just a cool down period for another test up. Okay, and there's technically is a giant harmonic on the monthly that I got here, right, from basically all-time highs to all-time lows. Giant ass shark, right? And so that shark technically completes at 68.98 roughly. So I'll kind of take you through what I was thinking maybe is today kind of looks like shit. The daily, so lost center, so maybe looking for the bounce at the bear zone here, where maybe where this VWAP line is. 4 hour expanding volume into the selling move, indicating that it could go lower as well. Okay. So in this move, there was a big Gartley that had just completed. Okay. You also have a TD7 and 8 count, and this is really interesting here on the 1 hour. So notice the out of this kind of volume here, you saw this these two selling candles. You saw big results from this one, but you saw a bigger effort into the next candle, but minimal results followed from that, right? We call that an imbalance in harmony of volume. Okay, there's a divergence in volume in this case. Harmony would be equal effort equals equal results, right? You have big sell volume come in, you have big wide body candle come in. That is harmonic in the volume and price effort. But this last candle, you saw volume divergence here. You saw big volume come in, tiny effort. This might be an area where buyers may start maybe start stepping in here for a potential reversal. Okay. And so I think this might be a pretty easy, might be a decent space anyways to place a trade. I'm not quite there yet. I want to see a little bit of action in the near term, but I do think that this might have a chance to turn back up in the next month. We do have flash targets as well on the upper side at 60, 61, 65, and 66.27. So yeah, maybe it does do a little bounce here, something like this, you know. Maybe it hits that harmonic, and maybe then it finally does the giant puke. But I'm trying to be really cautious, granted the entire market. But I think this might be one of the few that we should look for in the future here. So not quite ready yet, but I think we might be close. We'll see what happens over the next few days. Okay, Gurn. Gurn's been just an absolute fucking champion in what has happened recently. So Gurn kind of had the let's go to 2-day. Gurn, you had the a descending, what I believe to be a descending accumulation. Okay. Gurn looks like it's about to go fucking retarded, if I'm gonna be completely honest, and I'm just waiting, dude. I'm just waiting. I mean, this whole thing, the whole structure looks great. Let's just start at the weekly, right? So you had a confirmed weekly failure swing, right? Oh shit! I didn't even see this. Okay, hold on. So we were, at least I was pounding my head on the table, right? Basically kept rejecting this, the center line. Looks like it made it out on the 1 weekly candle, and it went back down. However, looking at the volume perspective here, this actually looks kind of decent, right? So yes, you have a lot of top wicks, blah, blah, blah. We know this is an area of resistance, right? But this last candle is really interesting. It looks like there's a lot of selling pressure here to push it down, but the buyers are keeping it up. At least that's how the weekly candle ended up. So this thing, I'm really liking what it's developing. Okay, now ultimately, right, the bullish case, right? This is your immediate 236. You need to get above there. You need full open and close, right? Then you got your 80% chance to go here. Okay? Huge gain, even from where it's at. That's pretty cool, 42%. We do have a flash left at 256. That's like long-term goal. That's where I want to make the big money, right? That's an 87% move. If we get to that flash and we get an open and close above there, well, that's the macro, the mega macro 236. Now you got your 80% chance to go here and fill all these gaps. That's a hell of a move, right? $166%? Jesus Christ. I love this thing. This thing could cook. It could cook. So I'm just, this is long-term port. Don't care. In the event, right? Let's talk about the bearish case. let's say that this ends up being a distribution and it ends up puking, right? You already know where your channel is, right? This is where, again, where I like the parallel channels. You can kind of see exactly which levels it had rejected, found support, and ultimately you want to see, in a descending channel, you want to see a break above this line, right? You want to see a break above, you want to see a back test, buy the back test, and watch the thing rip, okay? And so far, zooming in, it looks like it might do it. This might be the breakout, the back test, and now you're back out. This could be it, okay? Be a very easy to manage trade even if you're to buy in here. Bearish case, like I said, if this ends up being a mini distribution here, just look left, right? Look left for these areas. There was a sketchy flash left at 114. If it does get down there, and I do have this bat harmonic currently in place. This could get invalidated, you know, just by going up past that 145 mark here in the near future. So there is a chance, but at worst, you know, average down, or just wait if you're not comfortable buying here. Just wait for it to come down, and if it doesn't, you miss it. Oh well, on to the next one, right? But I really, really, really like GERN long term. What up, boss? Yes, sir. You're talking right here? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. 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 And, you know, in on the macro perspective, on the monthly, I think this is one giant accumulation, right? The whole thing. And then you're talking some serious dough, you know, if this is a giant accumulation. Just bear with me here. Big macro box. Big macro box. And if this thing, right? If this thing can manage to get up, hit that golden pocket, back test the previous top of the trading range, find support, and then rip, dear God. Like, this thing is gone, dude. Like, oh man, this stock has me so excited. It really does. It's cool, and I might go down as my best trade ever, ideally, if it could. But you're buying at the lows already here. Like, your risk reward should be cake. This thing could cook. I really want to see 80 upturn though. It's kind of weak right now. Weekly ADX needs to cook, and right now it's not yet. So just be wary of that. But yeah, long term, I think this thing could be an absolute fucking monster. Vinci threw in a bunch of data on GERN. I'm sure I will agree with everything on it. Go ahead and read it. Yeah, I think this thing is great. Okay, on the next one, get my notes. PGY. This one is a little upsetting. I still think this thing is great, macro perspective, I do believe that this also is in a giant macro accumulation. And you saw the SOS, right? We got our cute little picture here. We got the SOS here to break over previous highs, and now it's in the BULPS. It's just trying to find its footing now. You know, sometimes it finds it on the top of the prior trading range and launches from there. Sometimes it goes down to the midline, right? Probably here, if we look at this prior trading range, this seems to be the midline of support and resistance for all these moves. Would be unfortunate, but a hell of a buy if it does get down there, and there is a flash down there. Flashes are in orange on the right side. So I like this thing long term as well. I think it's inevitably going to move to 40. I think that's going to be the easiest trade of your life. It just needs to find its fucking footing here. Going on to the smaller time frames, and I'll show you where I got cooked on this. Because I do think it's important that we talk not just about the successes, but also the failures, because nobody's perfect. I certainly am not, and you know, I wouldn't say that this was a mistake. It was just a thesis that had broken, right? And that's okay. So, like I said, on the macro, we have our thesis. It's trying to find its footing on the BULPS before it rips up into higher highs for a markup phase. And so I was looking on the daily, right? And this was kind of the trading range that I was looking at, okay? I saw expanding volume right here, okay? I saw it make higher highs here, and it left a flash. This thing looked like it was about to absolutely rip faces from there. And then immediately the next day it puked, and so that's where I bought. My average was 23.96. Okay, I bought this dip here because on the intraday it looked like it was a faking gay dip, and then you saw immediate buyer support step up. It's like an immediate 5%. I was feeling great, you know. But I also knew, right, that same thing on the macro that we just did. If you draw your midline here, that sometimes the SOS can trail down to the midline and find support and then rip. If it breaks that midline right here with expanding volume, that's when you know this is going to be a distribution. Okay, so once it broke through this candle here, my stop loss triggered, and as you can see, this definitely did redistribute. Tested the bottom, came back up to the midline to confirm if buyers were still there to send it higher, and they were not, and this thing continued down, unfortunately. So that means that this trading range was not the accumulation droid we were looking for. In the last 2 days, it also left a flash here at about 2079, signaling further downward movement. You push away from the flash first initially, and then hope to come back to that price on the way up when that occurs, right? So now we're just we're looking for an entry now, but we're being patient about it. Okay, we know that macro 236 here is about 18 bucks. Kind of has this wedge going on. I want to see, did I draw that? I must have drew that on the 4 hour, was it? Yeah, so I drew that on the 4 hour, and it definitely broke that as well, which sucks. You got kind of a mini one going here too, little channel here. So that might be the telling tale when it finally breaks that. What's the weekly look like? Yeah, weekly looks like shit. Don't like that at all. Pew. That sucks. This thing's going to 40 bucks eventually. So we're just trying to find an entry. Just trying to find an entry here. Got to be patient with this thing. So, but I do really like it long term. Is that not a weekly? Yep. We talked about that. Yep. I think this whole thing is a accumulation. Hit the SOS right here, and now it's trying to find its footing on the BU-LPS phase. And sometimes that's the top of the trading range. Sometimes that's the midline of the trading range. Right? Sometimes in this diagram, sometimes this comes back down here before it goes up. Okay. Whole thing looks fucking fire. It does. Just waiting. Here's the other thing too, right? On this, you still have a descending volume wedge, right? So also when looking at accumulations and trends in general, look at the way it went up. Okay? Look at these strong ass candles. Look at this. Strength, buyer strength. Okay? Now what's this garbage? Right? Jackie calls this crack teeth. Crack teeth generally signal a weak pullback. Okay? Means sellers are not strong on that move. So again, looking at that, looking at this volume wedge here, you can this weak strong or this weak sell-off also correlates with the volume that we're seeing here as well. You're seeing a decrease in the volume on this. So you want to see when this thing breaks, when it finds its footing and it finally breaks this BU-LPS phase and hopefully goes for higher highs, you should see a break of this volume wedge with big green buying volumes supported with big wide-bodied candles, right? Like this and like this. And you should see those wide-bodied candles like we demonstrated in this move right here. Okay? Being patient on this one. Crackhead teeth, sorry. Disney. Been jerking my chain lately, but that's how she is. Disney, back in December, first week of December, left a weekly flash to the upside. Okay. You saw strong buyers into this move as well. Let's just look at this from a volume perspective first. So you saw an influx in buyer volume supported by wide-bodied candles. This is great. The longer or the higher the time frame, usually the bigger the effect of the move is, the more volatile, the more fast, the strength of it, right? So you did see the push here up to prior what was resistance, right? Ran into that. Now it's back testing again. One could argue that this is now a head and shoulders, okay, inverted head and shoulders, and maybe we're looking for more uppies. I like the fact that on the weekly it came out of it went into or above the center line. It back tested And last week ended up on a nice bottom long wicked candle with strong buying volume supported by it. The MACD is continuing now, and hopefully we'll cross that center line. And then I want to see, this is really the missing piece, right? Jackie says that there are three magical ingredients to a mega move. Does anybody know what those three magical ingredients to a mega move is? Throw it in the chat if you know. Someone said hot coffee, volume, confluence. Ooh, this makes me feel like this is a good topic to talk about if people don't know. Ooh, yeah, it doesn't look like a lot of people know this, maybe. All right. So Jackie says there are three ingredients needed to make a big move, okay? One is the RSI needs to be above 50, okay? Check. We're at 52. One is you need to have volume. Volume is coming in, right? We saw the first expansion. We saw a sell-off, a little bit, retracement. Now it looks like you're seeing it cook back up here. So check. Volume is go. And the third one is you need to have ADX and DMI, whichever trending direction that you want it to go, you need them both to make hot coffee, okay? Right now, you don't. You have DMI positive making warm coffee, but not hot, and ADX is almost into warm coffee. You need these two to be above 25. That is the magical three ingredients to a mega macro fucking awesome move, okay? And then if it's bearish, right, then same thing, right? If you're looking for a big downside, you want to see RSI below 50. You want to see the ADX in hot coffee, and you also want to see the DMI negative in hot coffee. Then you want to see strong selling volume coming in, okay? Those are the three big things. Use it for any stock. It works. It's awesome. It's great. Okay. So far, Disney looks like it's starting to do the thing. We're missing one last thing. ADX DMI. Need that in hot coffee, and the thing's fucking ripping. Okay. Target on this thing. Full target. Looking at this. Look at this. Would you guess UTG's in another accumulation trade? Okay. This thing broke higher highs over the prior trading range, and now it's trying to find that that BULPS footing and launch from there. And it looks like on the weekly, we have gotten there, and it's starting. It's starting to move. Okay. The full profit target on this thing that I got is near that 886 at 178. Okay, from where we're at to 178, it's almost a 60% move. Okay, and maybe this thing does rip to all-time highs. Love the look and the way that we ended this last week. I think this is good. I think the company itself is going to be a very stable company. Especially in a shit market. If SPY pukes, I think this thing has a decent credibility to at least maintain and not lose a ton in the near future. I know Jackie says no stocks are safe, and that is true, but I think this is a great long-term stock that you can add to your port. And it does give you a little dividend. I mean, compared to where price is, but hey, money's money, you know? I really love this long term. I think it's great. So volume just higher than usual. I'm just gonna direct you to like making volume wedges is so underrated. I think everybody should do it. Okay. You just want to see increasing, expanding volume in a trending move. Let me see, where are those arrows at? Yeah, this guy. So, like this one, right? You saw the sell-off, okay? But then you see this tiny little, like this green candle. Let's zoom in on this. Just talking this reversal point right here. So you saw big selling candle, big wide-bodied selling candle, match big selling volume coming in. That is harmony. They did the same thing. Okay. Now, the next one, also good, but starting to trail off, right? But then you saw basically a doji, right? Indecision. The next one, you saw a large underwick. Big hammer candle, right? Ding. Or dragonfly, whatever. Whatever the fuck. Same shit. I know it's not, but whatever. For this purpose, same shit, okay? So you saw that. Then you saw now starting to ramp up, right? The next candle, although it was another doji, you saw an increase expanding, right? Volume into this move, supporting the thesis that buyers are stepping in at this area. Then you got the big one here, right? Boom! Big buying volume candle, wide-bodied candle, back to harmony, okay? Back to harmony. Buyers stepped in. Confirmation right here. You go on the smaller time frames, it'll probably show a little bit easier. Maybe we can look at that actually. Maybe the daily will look a little bit easier too. Yeah, really your confirmation was right. Where's my brush? Your confirmation was really this guy right here, right? This particular candle, this is what I like to look at in trending moves or reversals. When you're looking for a reversal and you see a particular candle, got to be a decently wide-bodied candle, the volume has to overtake the prior two. Very important. Has to overtake the prior two volume candles. That is confirmation of the trending move, okay? And you saw that right here. So if you placed your trade at the end of the day right there, or at the end of this candle right there, set your stop loss just below it, below the trending move. See how that worked out? Pretty neat. Pretty neat. Volume price analysis, VPA. Fun thing about accumulation distribution is that on breakout, price tends to go to prior supply demand of the old range. Yes, it will always test, right? So actually, let's just look at this right here, just because we just talked about that, and it's a great great concept. So let's look at just this area right here, because there's a clear defined range here, okay? See this? And we see this, right? This was the results of a distribution. right? Dun, 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 dun. Broke through, back tested the bottom part of that range, and then it puked. Definition of distribution. And usually, almost every time, price will go back and retest those same levels. That's why the term looking left is so important and also underrated, right? And so when we saw this reversal and it came out, isn't that funny? Right? Broke back above, retested the bottom of that same range, found support, supported by these long wicks, tested the top range, rejected, back down to the top of this little range here. If this is a reaccumulation, you want to see this as the SOS, and then the pullback to test prior tops or prior highs of the trading range. It did. Again, found support right here. And then it launched outside the range finally. Mind blown, right? Pretty cool stuff. Let's see what Grump says here. Interesting spot on the hourly, bumping into the daily down channel and review up. Curious your thoughts on these last couple of candles, diminishing results on the last one in particular. It kind of looks to me, but that also the last candle of the day. Okay. On the hourly, was it? Yeah, okay. All right, so let's just keep in mind kind of the macro thesis, right? You could argue that this was this is a scallop and it hit that 0.54 level roughly, and it actually back tested that same area, and now you're seeing the trending move up. Okay. Now this is the 4 hour, and the higher time frames matter more than the smaller time frames. It'll help you make your thesis, right? So we have the thesis of a giant head and shoulders. We have the thesis of the scallop. We have the back test of that scallop. And it's starting to move up. And you have the 4-hour RSI wedge that's crossing. It crossed the SMA. And it crossed the center line. And you confirmed it by the next couple candles. You have a 4-hour bullish MACD cross under center, and this looks great so far. Go back to the three things that we just talked about, right? RSI above 50, check. Volume, oh yeah, expanding. Volume, check. The other missing key, right here, this guy. Need ADX to cook. It's not yet, but it needs to cook. It's got the setup. We need to wait and hope that it follows through here. So we'll go down to the 1 hour now. Okay, so this VWAP line, just to show you guys. Okay, so VWAP on the flash candle. Through my back testing, the trending move of a flash will be considered broken if you have two candle closes below the mid Dacian channel line here, right? Thanks, Jackie. Shout out. And so we had this kind of scary one, but we did not have a second one. Last week's candle went back above. To me, the trend is still up, still going. Okay. We saw that happen on the weekly, right? And then, yeah, what we discussed on the 4-hour head and shoulders, scallop, back test, blah, 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 right? Also to note on the 4-hour, In order for this thing to complete a TD13, it has to get above 115, right? And it looks like it is trending in that area. Also, just for looking here, there is a supply zone here, right? From that wick to that body, there's a supply zone here. So I expect there to probably be some sort of resistance here in the incoming, but long-term thing still looks great. So now the 1 hour, yeah, that last 1 hour candle faking gay. However, dude, look at this. Back to those three things, right? You got volume. Actually started here. You got volume, right? You in the bull zone on the 1 hour. Another tip, when you calculate the splay, okay? This is a fun little tip. When you calculate the splay, how far away is the RSI line from your SMA line? If it's a long ways away, you're probably good to continue the trending move, right? Now, if your RSI was like right here, it'd be a little bit scarier, right? Because you tend to look for reversals when the SMA is near the bull zone or in the bull zone. You would look for a bearish reversal there and vice versa on the downside, right? So for example, right, let's just look at this little price action area here. So when you crossed, let's see here. Try and find a decent example. I mean, ultimately, right, if you just look at this trending move, this kind of area right here, right, overall price action went up, okay? Now, you were deep in the bull zone here, but the RSI was, or the SMA was pretty far away, right? Now it crossed and basically tested above the 50 and then continued up back in the bull zone, cross. But like, look at the entire SMA line before it finally made like a decent puke to here, okay? This entire range. This was the first big puke it had. Look at, just follow the SMA. Okay? From the center line, it had to go all the way up to the bull zone before it finally made its puke. Okay? So that's something that I like to look for in trending moves, is how far away is the SMA line in comparison to the RSI. And right now, you have a large amount of splay here. And so this thing, maybe it does something like this. Maybe make some bearish divergence or something. But until this gets closer to the bull zone, then I would start to worry. I'd start to worry about that being close to the bull zone and seeing some bearish divergence maybe occur here. But as of right now, the hourly looks cracked, right? RSI in bull zone. ADX in DMI positive. So your DMI positive is making hot coffee at 28. ADX just crossed the DMI negative, signaling a continuation, right? Hopefully ADX will continue into warm and also hot coffee at that point. MACD looks strong as well. So I think on Disney here, I think you'll at least get to here, and then we see what happens there on the hourly. I think that's fair. But that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Sorry, we went into Disney a little bit more than not, but we also covered like 4 or 5 different lessons in that, so that's pretty neat. And I think a lot of people maybe learned something in here about that, so that's pretty cool. Okay, Target. We talked about the golden cross that was just made. Now, you had this volume wedge breakout, went under the 50 RSI, and you're seeing a little bit of a bounce here. Now, a couple things. I'm not sure I'm convinced of this yet. Now, this totally could be, right? If this was kind of the top of the trading range, right? And this little section was an accumulation, and it broke out above higher highs, and it's retesting the prior highs, and now looking for more ups. Totally could be. I'm not exactly convinced for a couple reasons. I want to see the back test of this golden cross first, and I think maybe to support that, same thing that we were just talking about, your SMA is so far away from your RSI line. This is a decent amount of splay. Could this thing continue? Hit that flash, go for new highs, and ultimately you know kind of get something like this back in the bull zone, and then this thing, like, yeah, totally could happen. So I'm not there yet. I need more information before I can make a sound judgment on a decision for this. Now, usually, right? This is another quick little mini lesson, right? So not only do you have a golden cross, but now you have the 50 and the 200 for that sake, but more so the 50 in the trending move. The 50, the 50 MA is exiting the bottom side of the Bollinger Bands, going up. That's typically a good sign, and that usually, when this occurs, usually occurs on a retracement down, and you'll typically want to buy that retracement down, and you should see maybe a little bit more upside from that. And then maybe you see this this MACD cross to continue the trending move. Totally could be, right? Yeah, that's kind of what developed on target. If it does go up, I would imagine it would test the top of this trend line, which, looking left here, may be an area, right, of supply. Looks like potentially a small area, but looks like that could be a thing. If you just draw this guy right over, does that kind of line up? It actually tested it right there and rejected. That's funny. Boxes are underrated, man. Draw them on your chart. That's kind of all I got to say about target there. Mara, this is really interesting now. So on Mara, on the macro, right? I was looking at this after, I can't remember who it was, the Discord, shout out Discord member, for posting a video on some guy being super bullish about it after I just did this. And I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, oh, fuck, all right, hold on here. So I re-looked at it, and I'm like, man, this thing had a giant Gartley just complete on the monthly. That's pretty sick. So on the smaller time frames we go. Actually, where was that TD? Let me just find this quick. Interesting. Okay, so you have a TD12 on the monthly here, so there is a chance that the TD13 will print. It has to stay below 971 for a TD13 to print on the monthly. So I wonder if this thing will just be range bound until then. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly also has a a TD count going here. So TD13 needs to stay below 1016. Interesting. Okay. We got to make sure that this thing isn't this little section is a distribution back down to this demand zone here, because there is one right here. And you could even argue it goes up to here. So that's super interesting. You also have this weekly RSI wedge here. So I wonder, knowing the monthly and kind of macro thesis, we know that the giant ass Gartley just completed. And it's technically back tested a couple times, right? If this thing were to redistribute just a tad lower, I would expect it to enter this demand zone and maybe find its big support there. You don't really want to see it lose this this giant weekly RSI wedge, but this is something to pay attention to. You also have the macro 0.5 FIP level here at about $9 too. So let's see if we can maybe determine what's going on the smaller time frames here. So you ran into supply zone here, right? This supply zone was basically right here. So you tagged it, rejected off, and you're seeing decent sell volume into the move, indicating that it probably is going to go a little bit lower. I don't like the bearish divergence that hit here. So I wonder if this thing is going to, again, notice how the RSI basically right at the bull zone or the bear zone, and then that's when the cross happened. And now you're going for another test there, and then ultimately at the same area at the bear zone. So I would say if this thing goes back into the bear zone, then you would look for that move to this general vicinity in the demand zone. Now, this thing, so I've seen this before. This happened on Gurn actually. Let's say it only goes here and maybe bounces off that that trend line, right? You could get your TD13 back into this bottom channel, right? See how important this bottom channel is? Another reason why I like these descending channels. Let's say your TD13 comes into that channel, and then you see the bounce out of there, right? That would create a second touch of bullish divergence, and maybe that's your maybe that's going to be your spring into the more uppies, you know. Then you'd look for a break of that top part of the channel, the back test, and then go for this 236. Now, if it makes a lower low, then this 236 would, you know, lower itself maybe to here instead. But I'm just making assumptions here, and so I think that's kind of what to look for here. On Mara, I think it's super interesting some of the tin that's going around with GameStop and it. Daily looks kind of like shit actually. Just crossed the SMA, heading towards down. You have the bearish MACD cross. However, if we look at the ADX here, yes, the DMI negative skyrocketed. However, the ADX hasn't done shit, meaning that this entire trending move down doesn't mean shit. There's no strength behind it. And kind of similar to the same point that we just talked about earlier, when you look at the uptrending move, right? These are some decent sized candles, but on the way back down, crackhead teeth. So I think that this pullback is unjustified right now, but I think this is something to pay attention to in the future, just because of that macro, you know, the whole thing looks awesome, and we got targets all the way up to 21 bucks. It looks like so. It's a 130% move. It'll get there eventually. Just got to find out where it's going to find its footing here first. All right, let's see. It's safe to say UTG is a Disney adult. Maybe. Apple. All right. Let me get a fucking drink because I feel like I've been talking for forever. How are we doing, chat? I'm really trying to get through this as fast as possible. There's no questions, so I think I'm doing an okay job, maybe. All right. That's cool. I'm halfway through. All right. I just know that you guys want to listen to me talk about Bitcoin and GME, so I save those for the ends. I got to rope you fuckers in somehow. It's so nice to see someone else's thought process and you highlight different aspects of Jackie's training. Yeah, I think like Jackie's specialty, dude fucking knows harmonics and MAs like none other, right? That's his thing. And then you got people like Sky Daddy who loves his flags, bull flags, bear flags, his EMAs. That's his thing. Then you got crackhead money tings fucking making these giant trades on stocks that are 0.2 cost basis, and he's fucking in and out in 3 seconds, and that is just like crazy to me. But like, just because like Jackie's successful or these guys are successful, right? Like, there's so many different ways to trade, and it doesn't mean that one way is right. Everybody trades differently. You just got to figure out what's best for you. And I believe that I have found kind of my thing, right? With these supply and demand zones and Wyckoff, and then I kind of add some of this other shit on top of it, right? Your fibs and harmonics and RSI and AD, like just using all of this as confluence, and this I believe that I have just traded the best, or I have developed the best trading way for me, right? Anyways, appreciate it. So let's see here. Jackie did spill in the main chat, stock chat, that people were probably reading, but grifted, realizing I'm good on macro stuff, but I'm garbage on short-term stuff. I mean, it's all the same shit, right? One just moves faster than the other. So, if you can't stay active to a stock, in a timely fashion, then that's just what you got to stick to, is the mid to long-term stuff. And it's not wrong. It's okay. I think I might start changing. I might start color changing my RSI line. You do you, boo. You do you, boo. All right, we're fucking done with Mara. DJT. Oh no, we were going to Apple. My bad. Sorry. Sidetracked. So Apple. Apple. I remember I talked about seeing that this thing was oversold, expecting a relief bounce, okay? But looking at where this thing ended up, okay, so you broke above the haul, you back tested it, you had strong buying candle, right here, with a thick boy price action candle. This, oops, these two together is harmony, right? Back to harmony. No price volume divergence. You got a bullish MACD cross. Big moment right here. You got to get above the 50. Okay, you're at a prior zone of resistance here, selling, right? This is where we went down, back tested, failed, saw increasing selling volume, right? If you draw a little, my bad, I didn't mean to do the arrow. If you draw a wedge, right, along this this volume here, you broke out with big sell volume, and you saw the trending move follow that same thing, meaning it's legitimate. It was a legitimate selling move, but you did find some support here. Why did we find support in the middle of that? Well, you just gotta look left here. Look at where I found support before. Right, there's your little demand zone. Oh, well, look at that. Fucking found support, bounced out, right? Now, this is the make or break, though. You gotta get above this demand box, and you have to break the 50. If you do, then you're looking at these flash targets at 260.74, which is also the 50 MA. And then if you continue the trend, we start seeing some of these other things develop. Sure, then let's go for all-time highs, right? Got a flash up at 288 even, or 285, 285, yeah, 285. So, however, I'm not sure that this is legitimate. So, if it breaks down, you get back into, you get back below that 236. You need to confirm below it. Actually, what is the weekly? Does the weekly show a little bit better? How about the 2-day? 2-day technically, so what's the weekly here? Let's just see what we're looking at. A little bit of turning here. That's garbage, means nothing to me. I think the weekly is everything here, okay? So, if this thing breaks down and you get a reconfirmation below that 236, then you're going to aim here. 235.36. It's also the weekly 50 MA, and you got a flash there as well for a target. To the upside, you break above this box, then you're going to look for that 269 and then all the way up to 288. You could honestly probably just set one giant ooga booga here. And even do it here, okay? Until you break either to the upside of that range or the downside, then you kind of know your targets. If you want to play short, $8.50 move is pretty big for short term, right? It's huge. And then same thing to the upside. That is kind of what I'm seeing here. It's kind of just in the middle, needs to pick a direction, but we don't have that yet. So, what was the game changer for you personally? What do you mean game changer? Vinci. Wait till he finishes typing here. We'll load up DJT in the meantime. So DJT. This is interesting setup, right? So we had um, that news event that launched us up and rejected the 236 up here. Um, and we've been kind of making this flag formation, right? I think that uh, my stop loss is actually set currently right below this, where it found support last time, just below this. So if it loses the daily 50 here and breaks below, I think it's a reasonable chance that it goes for this gap fill. Okay. That would also coincide with the TD13 that would probably eventually print. It's got to go all the way down to 1130 for that 13 to print. And maybe that hits the top of the bear zone. Maybe it goes back into the bear zone. But I don't really like the current volume that has taken place in this recent move. It's not dead, but looking at kind of this little U shape, I don't want to see expanding red volume followed by another wide-bodied red candle confirming the trending move. So I'm keeping my stop loss very tight around this area. And that's okay because we made an ass load of money on the way up already. So if it breaks down, then then we'll wait for an entry at a lower point again. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. I kind of really want to see this thing hold that level at least. Let's go in on the smaller time frame actually, because I haven't done this yet. So the 1 hour just left a flash. That's really interesting. We'll mark that off here. And price definitely broke away from it, right? How big was that move out of curiosity? 7%. Yep, okay. There's some hope on that very last candle there, though. I like seeing a terminal candle on a TD9 with high volume. That's typically a good sign, potentially stopping the selling pressure that buyers are stepping up, and maybe you'd look for a reversal here. So that is something to note. The 1 hour RSI is damn near oversold territory, and the EMA or the SMA has also entered the bull zone or the bear zone, signaling that a reversal, even if it's a relief bounce, should be in the very, very near term on the hourly, I would say. Don't like that these two are still cooking, but so that's interesting. What's the 4 hour? That's nothing to me. Oh, it actually just filled that technical gap there. That's just really interesting. You can see that guy right here, right? From here to here. So it actually just filled that technical gap perfectly. 4 hour, don't like the big splay on this. That might signal more downward movement. 30 minute. Got anything cooking there? Not really. Still got that. Okay. Yep, keeping stops tight just below previous previous support lows here. So that's kind of what I think about this guy. Just gotta be careful here. Is this gonna be recorded? Yep, she's going. So start of my journey, what was the biggest game changer for you that made you really trading like a pro? I think the biggest thing is just realizing that you're your own person. You're on your own trading journey. Don't follow anybody else because only you can figure out what's best for you. I have gone through my trials of trying other people's trading styles. I have learned what I liked about some of them, learned what I disliked, and got my ass clapped on some of them. Um, and that's not a knock to any of the other traders. It's just like, this just doesn't work for me. Like, and so I needed to figure out kind of some of the things that I noticed made sense to me and what was working for me. And then at the end of that, even if you got to write it in a list, like, okay, well, I'm good at harmonics, but I suck at MAs, and I like the RSI, but the MACD just doesn't mean shit to me. It's like, okay, well, combine everything that does work to you, and then start trading just on those. Come up with your own system, nail that, and then just slowly fine tune it to accommodate you. And then, the other two big things is just like understanding your trading personality. So you need to understand your trading style, your trading personality, and your trading time frame. Those are the big things. Some people are like you might have a master wizard of, certain trading styles and personalities. Maybe you're really good at handling your emotions, and you can handle trading, making a trade in 10 seconds, right? Maybe you're a SPY day trader, and you can handle that, and that works great for you. You can go in and out with no pressure. You know what you did. But here's the thing: if your time schedule doesn't allow for that, if you got like a manual labor job throughout the day, well, obviously that's not gonna suit you. So, you got to figure out your trading time frame too. What works best for you? Are you more of uh, this stock, GERN, right? Looks great on the monthly. I'll just buy it, set it and forget it, and we'll talk about it in, a couple months. See what happens, I think those are the three biggest ones. Um, just identifying who you are as a trader, and what works for you, and then kind of hone in on that. And then you can kind of expand into other ways if that makes sense to you. I'm always forever open to learning and trading. Um, so, all right. So that was DJT Nike. Been watching this bad boy like a hawk. Like a hawk to a. All right. So Nike. I was looking at this alt bat here. Um, it had clearly ran into the previous supply zone up here twice and rejected that area. Um, and we saw a trailing off period of this. We do have a few flashes below between $60 and $57. RSI hit the bear zone, and MACD is also not great. Now this is on the 4-hour. We saw a TD count develop here, but again, TD count does not mean reversal. It means exhaustion of the current trend. So it means if you had a selling period down and you saw a TD count, that also can mean that it's exhausted, and the indicators need cooling for also further downward movement. Doesn't just mean reversal, okay? It's a trend exhaustion indicator, not a reversal indicator, so that's very important to note. But here, it also exhausted and then also turned and burned, right? But looking at confluence, is at the oversold territory in the 4-hour. You had declining volume on this sell move until you finally found the very bottom here, right? So that's just something to note. But Nike just gotta see what happens here. Um, this could be a shitty scallop. You technically did run into the 0.54 fib level retracement. Um, so it's very possible that it could reverse here. I need more information though. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so there's something. So this also left a flash on the daily on Friday. Potentially, right? You look for price to move away from that. So if the flash is left on the top side, here you look for price to go down, right? So that's interesting. 2-day doji, nothing. Kind of shitty. What's the weekly show? Oh fuck, the weekly's in a flash. Oh lord. All right. This is interesting now. Ooh, we got to figure out what's going to happen in the next week here. This is a compressed RSI zone. Look at this. This is coiling. Same thing with price action. You can, once you see coiling on RSI, you can expect a big move as well. It looks like Nike's going to make a monstrous move in the near future here, and I don't want to miss it if it goes to the upside. I also think it's really interesting, though, because I want to say it was it CEO of Apple that bought an ass ton over here? I want to say it was, and that caused this gap up. If somebody can confirm that, yeah, there you go. Tim Cook, Mr. Cook, is cooking. So, so that's pretty interesting. I would say that if this thing, yeah, does trail down to these flashes here and potentially into this demand zone below us, I would think it'd be a screaming buy, especially if the weekly's in a flash. And we know that there was a big order, assuming they didn't sell at the top here. But regardless, on the macro perspective, you would have a double bottom, right? If it does come down there, that'd be pretty cool. Not the most round, but hey, I like it. So we definitely need to keep our eyes on this thing because I don't want to miss that weekly flash. I really don't. I think that thing could be monstrous. I was also looking at the daily, so it looks like it's been wicking the last 2 days outside of the Bollinger Bands. So I don't know. Looks like it filled that gap too. Yeah, sure did. But you also have a gap there, so maybe it does come back down to 57. Anyways, we're gonna monitor this. I like this. I like this long term. I think it's great. The 1 hour just have a failure swing? Sure as fuck did. Look at that. Interesting. Interesting. So maybe it was a scallop and maybe you are getting a move up. You also have a TD count though, TD10. Lots of bearish and bullish signals all at the same time. Potentially a death cross coming as well. So something to be careful about. Is that a death cross? Is that a golden cross? So golden, and it has not been a death cross yet. So, yep, we need to monitor this thing. Where is the... Let's look at the trending move fib here, out of curiosity. Alright, so 6240, that's your big number, roughly. You get above that, I think it's... I think it might be a decent buy-in chance for this thing to turn and burn, but so we'll monitor that. It's too wishy-washy right now, but I think it needs to make up its mind for us to make up our mind. So got to have some kind of knowledge, but it's been in a multi-year downtrend. Yep. Out of curiosity, yeah, let's turn drawings off. This volume is really interesting. So I'm specifically looking at this area right here. Okay, just keep this in your mental note as I turn these drawings back off. You see huge selling volume come in, but the results aren't super crazy. Like, look at the entire, this volume coming in is the highest that it's had since, where was this at even? This guy right here. That was December of 2008. Are you kidding me? So you're seeing selling volume coming in, haven't seen since 2008. And you're trying to see it prop up here, but it's not moving a crazy amount as it should. Like look at this. Specifically these two candles right here. Huge wide-bodied candles supported by big volume, right? But now you're kind of seeing that taper off, right? You're seeing very similar volume-wise on these monthly candles, but they're ending in dojis. So potentially buyers are absorbing all the selling pressure in this area, maybe for a turn and burn to the upside. Okay, that's super interesting. High volume compressed candles is absorption. If it's happening at the bottom of a trend, it's probably buyers absorbing the sell orders. Look at that! Look at that! That's crazy! That's funny. What volume indicator do you use? Just one on TradingView. Make sure to add in the MA line. Creates this white line to show what is considered to be important because it takes into account the last 20 days, right? That would be this guy right here. Okay. And you can add it in here. All right, so holy shit. What's our targets on this thing to the upside, actually? I got 103 as the highest. That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. That is pretty neat. 70% move, casual. As Carl would say, sexual. All right, I think we're done on Nike. Like it, though. All right, Wendy's. Wendy's. I think I have an unpopular opinion on Wendy's than most people. It's not even in my top list for probably obvious reasons. Look at that. All right, so the old dumpster. Let's turn drawings off here. So the dumpster did leave a flash on the daily, indicating downside. So that's not ideal. Now, you saw expanding sell volume in this move. You saw a little bit of support right at the end of the day there on Friday. So this is something to be very careful of. I'm not entering any position at this point. It just looks like shit right now. Display on the SMA to the RSI way too wide. I need it to be closer. for a macro trend reversal, right? Need that SMA to get down to the bear zone. Don't like that ADX is about to cross the DMI positive, while the DMI negative is already cooking in hot coffee, and then the MACD had a cross, and obviously it has gone down. So that's not great. Let's go to some of the other. Okay, so the 2-day also left a flash. Not great. It's a weekly show. So the weekly, holy shit, look at how compressed this is. She is coiling, holy balls. Okay. Well, I do not like this weekly candle. That is dog shit. Holy shit. Huge selling volume paired with huge wide-bodied candle, indicating harmony. Ugh, icky. All right, monthly. So the monthly is interesting, just because you now have the SMA into the bear zone. Very slight curl, just starting. That looks disgusting. So, yeah, Wendy's not looking super hot right now. Wendy's also had a monthly flash at $15, indicating a long move down, and that's exactly what we're seeing. I mean, you saw a 50% move down, so checks out. All right, let's turn drawings on. So I am monitoring a large, clean ass bat. Okay, from prior low there to the tippy top. So this bat completes right near this fib. The 113, that's at $5.64. Now, I'm not sure it'll get there right now. I don't like overall, right? See this U shape matches with this U shape, right? Indicating that the selling movement into this downward trend is supported. So, I mean, over the next few months, you know, the fact that you've now broken below that 886, if next month's candle stays below that, you know, yikes. There's technically a 70% chance that we're going to go here. Okay. But looking at the monthly RSI, I mean, this thing is, it is already near oversold territory here. So maybe it just needs to do the bounce. Maybe it needs to touch it. I don't know. But I'm not exactly liking what I'm seeing here. This only green candle, look at how much volume went into that with the tiniest movement. That is dog shit. That is pure definition of sellers absorbing any buyers in this area so they can send it further down. That type of compression is very ugly. And then, yeah, you saw that on this last candle. So, not a great look, Wendo. Not a great look. Now, I do have a demand zone here that I expected to, actually it touched that, so that makes sense. So I had drawn this on the smaller time frame. And so, yeah, it looks like it did touch it. Had a little supportive bounce from touching that box, but I gotta assume that it's going to continue down. further into that. I mean, yeah, looking at that 2-day, flashes going off on the daily and 2-day. It's probably going to go further down into that box. Let's see. Yep. So that was the demand zone from the last. So I want to say that if we get into the sixes, I think this would be a very reasonable place to place a trade. But you got to keep it tight. I don't think I have any other. So if a flash was set there, that would be what I would want to target there. So you're looking at a 3.7 to 1. So that's not horrible. That is probably be where I would be willing to place a trade. It's got to be in the sixes near the bottom of this box. And then you would aim for the flash here, right, at 796. I'm not touching this thing until it gets down here, though, because it could very well dip down, back test, and go further, and then at that point, now you're looking at this this overall macro back completion. So it's kind of my thoughts on Wendy's. Oh, we got a few comments. Yep, beef too expensive. Yep, shout out. Salad. Pork remains cheap. Chicken is reasonable. $6 for biggie bag. Rip 4 for 4. Yeah, dude. When this thing makes an accumulation down there, I'm going to. Yep. Same idea, right? Is kind of one of our previous talks is looking at the monthly here, right? Just quick recap. You don't buy this. You buy this, right? Because once it makes an established trading range, now you know, okay, I can place my trade here and I can set my stop loss right here, and then I'll know I'm wrong if it goes below that, right? Here, cooked. Place your trade here, right? You just, this whole thing is just cooked. Don't do that. Don't do that. You get cooked. Wait for this. And honestly, wait for it to do it on the monthly, because this thing looks like dog shit. So, okay, I'm done with Wendy's. I've exhausted enough on Wendy's. All right, let's talk about you. This turd. I might, oh, I thought I removed it for a second. Understandably so. Okie dokie. You. Alright, first things first. Let's start with the drawings off. Okay, so there's a monthly flash left at 2402. Okay. It did lead to a giant move, right? 118%. Now, this is the monthly, but gotta wait for 2 candles to finish below this Donchian channel, right? To confirm that the trending move up is gone. Looks like it found a bounce at the mid Bollinger Bands on the monthly. Do not like the high selling with in harmony with the price action candle. If this thing wanted to complete the TD13, it would have to go all the way down to 1827 in order for that to do that. Now this is the monthly time frame, so that's another 37%. So big yikes if that's the case. I'm not sure it'll do that, but we'll look at the weekly here and see what's going on. Okay, so the weekly had made a golden cross, and you had a fat weekly candle below that. Macro 236 is at 2638. You're right at the bear zone on the weekly here. But what's really interesting is this right here. So notice that this entire DMI move that skyrocketed up was not supported by the ADX. Yes, it's still making hot coffee, but I feel like if it was serious, it would have done this, right? Both of them in harmony together, but it didn't. So, anyways, MACD looks god awful. Granted, the situation makes sense. There are a few flashes yet on the table. 2451 on the downside. What's the 2-day look like? So the 2-day just made a countdown TD8. So there is a chance that it might continue through a TD10, 11, 12, and 13 on the way down. The 2-day is deep into the bear zone. The splay of the SMA and the RSI are so far apart, meaning this thing needs more time to cook for any type of reversal to occur in the future. I had drawn this box a long time ago. It is still relevant today. I'll turn this off first. So you're in a previous box that once was resistance, used it as support, and it's testing this area for buyers again. I gotta imagine there'd be some sort of bounce out of here, but it may continue down. I mean, long term, I think Unity is going to be triple-digit stock, but yeah, right now it looks kind of dog shit. Daily is almost at the oversold. Has it ever been that? Yep, right here. Once. It has entered oversold only once in its stock's history. And it immediately followed up with, so on that day it was a 30% move, and then ultimately led 105 there, 65%. So it might be an interesting short-term play, just for a really quick bounce. But I mean, the thing looks fucking scary right now. Let's look at these smaller time frames. So the 4-hour actually left a flash here. Look at that. We'll mark that on. Okay, so 4-hour TD8. 4-hour did enter oversold. Has that ever? Yep, there. Twice. A couple times. So, that's also interesting to know. Where were we here? So, just a little bounce. How big was this bounce? Oh, there was no bounce. I'm not counting that. I guess that was 7%, but it's still. Pew. Icky, icky. Oops. Yep. Wendy, or Unity, same thing as Wendy's. Don't do this. Don't buy that. Buy this instead. You should never buy a markdown or a markup phase. You're going to get cooked. Wait till it finds its footing and starts to level off. And right now, it's kind of scary. So, So far out of the Bollinger Bands on the 4 hour too. You might have already missed your chance to hit this up movement. That was 8%, almost 9%. You might have already missed it, so I wouldn't hop in this thing. 1 hour potential failure swing. Let's look at this. Got a little wedge going here. The RSI is near. This actually might be a decent play. So honestly, I think I would want to. This is short term. I mean, I'm talking, maybe weeklies type of a thing, but actually, I'd probably do monthlies because I'd be scared shitless for weeklies on this. So maybe you could make a few bucks if you end up getting the cross out of this wedge. Make sure you cross the SMA. And honestly, I would probably wait for confirmation of breaking the bear zone. That would likely lead to a bullish MACD cross here and then confirm the failure swing. Maybe you get a little bump from that, but I'd be super conservative on this type of a play. Something to keep note of, because ultimately, I mean, this thing could do this and then puke. Hit these flashes here, back test, go for further flashes here. Gotta be careful on this one. When's that daily fib time zone? Okay, so we crossed one here, which was the big puke that everybody freaked out about and probably lost a bunch of money. And now you're seeing further downward movement. So February 9th is the next fib time zone on Unity. Okay, keep that in mind. Monthly time frame is long time. Look for support around 26 for you. Yeah. We'll see what these next few days look like. Okay, GPK is a Refy Jeffy special stock. To my knowledge, hasn't been talked about in the Discord yet. It's not a mega huge play type of I mean, it could be in the future, but it's not super. I wouldn't expect much out of it right now, but definitely a longer term play. Got this channel going, and I'm kind of waiting for this to find its footing as well. Looks like it's battling the midline. Used as support previously, slipped below, back to the center line on it. I think long term though it could be decent. I was monitoring the 2-day. The 2-day looks like it wants a TD13 in this structure. Don't like the fact that it's printing this hidden bearish divergence, assuming that the price action of this stock will continue down. If it does indeed break down. But yeah, I think it's a decent buy if it ever returns back to this bottom part of the channel. The targets 16, 18, about 20 bucks, 21 on this thing. So it's not going to make you ultra rich, but like still good gains, Let's see what the weekly's doing here. So you had a weekly bearish engulfing candle. That's not ideal. Is it? Let's look. How about them wicks? Yep. Weekly bearish engulfing candle. So probably down. Kind of supports my bias a little bit on this thing, but we'll see what happens here. It does have a really decent weekly RSI wedge going on here. So if on the weekly it does, and so far it is putting in lower lows on price action, but technically higher lows on the RSI. So I think the risk reward to this thing would be super cake to do, setting just below. But I'm definitely just watching in the interim time for an entry on this, possibly. Let's see what the monthly is. Monthly kind of looks poopy, but yeah, I think GPK is it could be a decent play here. I'm just kind of waiting for this thing. Just waiting for this thing. I would want to buy it a little bit lower here, so we'll see. We'll see. All right, so let's do Domo quick. Find in my list here. Domo. All right, so Domo just started to create a range here. Okay. So remember when I was saying don't buy this, right? Wait till it does something like this. Establish your trading range. So we saw at this point, let's get the accumulation schematic up here just so we can follow along. Okay, so we may have found the SC, the selling climax phase here, hit the automatic reaction, which should be here. The ST for the secondary test, you saw the move up higher here, which we wicked off. Now we're trending down, okay? Right now we're kind of right in the midline. So you have a TD count forming here on the 4 hour. Looking for that 13. I assume it'll print soon here. But I mean, at this point, you can probably safely now draw your box. Okay, your trading box, your trading range box, where price action will probably trade in until we get some better identification on if this trading range is going to be an accumulation or a redistribution. So we can mark off our box right here. And we'll create a second one, and we'll throw it on the bottom side right here. So you could do this. And then if you want to be ballsy and trade in between, then have at it. High to low range is going to be roughly 15%, so you could be a crackhead and trade in between, then make some quick gains. But as of right now, we kind of know our trading range and what we're looking for, anyways. I'm going to draw my channel here just because I am comfortable, I think, with this range. Yep, right there. Just because the midline looks pretty legit. So found support and resistance in between here. So this is probably the trading range that I'm going to look at for the interim time. But it's still not a buy yet, in my opinion, because Wyckoff says you should not place your trade in phase A. You should not place your trade in phase B. You should only place your trade in these 3 phases. Phase C, if you were to buy the spring, it produces the easier risk reward, but it's not as, you have less confirmation. Okay, so the further you go this way on the schematic, the more confirmation you get, but the less risk reward, if that makes sense. So yeah, this thing, now that the trade has, or the range has probably been made, I'm probably just going to sit back for this guy in phase D. I would want to see it, you know, dick around here first, and I want to see it break the top of this trend channel, back test it, and then that's where I would place my trade, buy that BULPS phase, set my stop loss just below the midline, because if it does come back down to the midline, right, we said that it can do that. I would probably add to my position at that midline and then set my stop loss just below that, because even at the top of that range, if it back tests, hits the flash at, I got one at 7-Eleven, shutout Slurpees, that's still an 11% gain, even from the breakout of the top of the channel and the back test to buy that. You know, more confirmation of the trending move. Maybe you get some of the other indicators that show that as well. But that's still a great trade, right? So that's probably what I'm going to wait for on Domo at this point, especially with the market being where it currently is. But all right, LAC, and then we'll get to Domo, or then we'll get to Bitcoin and GME. So let's type her in here. So LAC, appears that this was an accumulation, right? Had your kind of trading range here. You broke out, you back tested it, and then you saw the upward movement. You ran directly into this demand box and then rejected the crap out of it. So checks out. That's why we take profit in these supply zones. And you buy the demand zones on the bottom side, right? Because we knew that this was previously an area where sellers had pushed into, rechecked for buyers, sellers overtook it and sent the thing down. So you would have to imagine that once you got to that same area where there was a lot of sellers there previously, you would probably expect that there's going to be some similar type of reaction, at least initially. So that's why you want to use these as profit-taking areas as well. But LAC, I mean, at this point, I mean, you're in the bear zone now on the 4-hour. Not ideal. All of these indicators, I mean, ADX looks like garbage. MACD trending down. You're outside of the Bollinger Bands. I mean, at this point, I think the only sensible area at this point to take a trade is now going to be a triple bottom here, and you'd want to set your stops very, very tight below this thing. But it did leave a flash up at 587, so your risk reward would be pretty insane here. So that would be cool if it did do that. But at this point, I'm not willing to place a trade until it gets to a triple bottom. And let's check out where we're at on our fib. So you just lost golden pocket, and it's very likely it's going to go to this 886 at the very least. Looks like there might be a little gap there too, actually, right here, which would fill that triple bottom. So something to note. This is interesting too. Just saw this. You do have declining volume on this trending move. So very interesting. Could be a play for the future. But right now you're just kind of waiting here. Let's see what the daily looks like. Save your 200 at 416. Probably going to hit the bear zone again on that. That looks like garbage. Yep. 2-day. 2-day. You did have the TD9 count. That was a fat rejection down. That's hilarious. You're technically at the midline, though. This was, anyways, let's see what the weekly shows. Weekly, one giant bearish engulfing candle. Back below the mid-Bollinger Bands. You're testing the 50. It's wishy-washy right now. Things gotta chill out. So, gotta wait. Wish I knew about this thing though back in September, because this thing was the easiest extended V bottom I've ever seen in my life. Oh well, is what it be. Okay. Alright, so let's get to Bitcoin, for those of you that have stayed long enough. Bitcoin. Alright, so Bitcoin has been in a distribution. So, place this bad boy up. So, this is your distribution, right? Right here. And so that played out, right? You hit your prior demand box, which was set roughly here, right? You hit that. Then you kind of made your trading range on the smaller time frame, which we'll zoom in for just a little bit here. But clearly, this was a redistribution pattern that has now led to a further downward movement, as well as if you were to do a volume wedge here. Notice on this candle right here, the amount of volume that came in for little results of price action, indicating that sellers are absorbing all of the buyers in this range, prepping in order to move it downward, in which we saw now in the next two candles, including today's weekly price action as well. So this was a textbook redistribution right here, was a textbook distribution here. So what does that mean in the near term? So, well, I would probably expect this thing to continue down into the bear zone. Now, let's go to like the 2-day. Yep. So, if we throw in a box right here, take this all the way over. So, this is the big thing right now, is that Bitcoin needs to lose this demand box right here. If it loses that, it's a sure shot minimum to the 1128 fib level, as well as there's a flash at 67,851 here as well. So I would pretty much guarantee you lose this box. That box is 74,000. You lose that box on expanding volume. This is a guarantee, 67,000. I think that is extremely reasonable. That's just what the chart's showing right now. It looks like dog shit. I don't know how you can't justify it any other way. Looking at the daily, again, look at the splay, how far away that SMA is from the RSI. This thing needs a lot of time to catch up. And, you know, maybe it tries to do something like this again. Back test the prior lows of the redistribution that had occurred. Maybe it rejects off of that again and makes for its final move down, something like this, right? This would be another redistribution, exactly what we saw here, right? You saw the selling climax, the reaction, the UTAD, back down, tested middle, which also was the golden pocket, rejected, made your final move down, pass that into a new range of to see if buyers are supporting here. And so you'd basically look for the same thing if you're bearish on a further movement down. Okay. What's the monthly look like? Out of curiosity. Shrink this guy up. So the monthly, you had 2 touches of bearish divergence. Crossed the SMA and outside of the bull zone. That was the big warning sign right there. Should have gotten out right there. And now you're potentially losing the 50. Not ideal. MACD, I assume, is also garbage. Yep. So, yeah, a fat bearish cross on the MACD. So, honestly, the way that everything's looking right now, like I said, it's got to lose this box right here, this demand box, for you to look further than that. And potentially, if it does lose that, you're probably losing, officially losing and confirming seller control past the 50. And you might actually have targets below that. And maybe now you're looking at 53K, roughly. Totally could be. But it's got to lose this demand box first. This is its last life support box before for anything. It needs to hold this, and if it doesn't, goodbye. So let's look at the 4-hour quick, because 4-hour is the sniper scope to the weekly. Should not have started on that. So okay, so the 4-hour. Let's take a peek here. So, yep. Oh, we actually hit oversold. Look at that. Pew. Pew, pew, pew. Yep. So again, you have expanding volume up, right? With wide-bodied candles. This is a confirmation of seller takeover and redistributing to a lower form of support to see if buyers are going to step in. This is volume price action harmony. There is no divergence at this point. Yes, again, you are oversold. The splay is so far away. I want to say Jackie said something the other day. And what he said was, when you have a stock that enters oversold territory, okay, and it comes out and it goes back in, your confirmation level, or sorry, your bear zone level has now changed to here, right? That means you need to get above the 50 and confirm from this point forward for anything to mean anything. Otherwise, probably expect further downward movement, okay? So you're not playing any type of divergence in here. It would just be a foolish move. You gotta now wait until you have trending price action up and you're above the 50 at a minimum to think about any type of a trade. Okay, this is on the 4-hour, but yeah, Bitcoin looks like shit. So if I had to guess, you know, I would guess that it would probably lose this 74,000 box and probably make its way towards 67,000 if I had to guess. So let's see. Just warned my homie who's interested in Bitcoin to wait for a bigger dip. Yep. It's not the time to buy. I didn't think about MSTR. Aiming for 122. Weekly volume divergence is a perfect example of what you don't want to see. Yes, if you're long, you don't want to see this. But this was a textbook distribution and a textbook redistribution. Yeah, that's it. It was just perfect. So, here's the yeah. Anyways, that's what I got on Bitcoin. So, we'll talk about GameStop now. All right. We'll switch to different charts. It's not all crazy. All right. So I had posted this a long time ago. The macro thesis, right? That this entire thing is an accumulation. Right? Essentially, right? You had your round, then your break into the SOS here, and now you're flagging into the BULPS, and it's now, I mean, we're in the middle of it. Like, it found its bottom at 10 bucks. Okay, now we're in between there, trying to find its footing for the ultimate breakout of this channel, back test, and go for higher would be, you know, the ideal scenario long term. That's how this works, right? So what do we got going on here? Well, one thing that I was noticing is on this parallel channel that I have drawn, okay, never once have we had a weekly candle open and close above this line right here, okay? That's why I wrote on this line, weekly open and close above here, and GameStop is gone. And I do believe that to be the case. So in this trending price action, right, we tried to get above it a little bit, and I'm talking the center line here. Made another attempt, and then one final attempt here back in 22 before it never saw that center line again, right? And then notice how we were dipping between these lines on this parallel channel, basically until you hit the bottom, and then that's essentially what shot us up, right? That $10 level, which looking left, right? We look for previous support. You want to, after an SOS phase, you want to test the prior highs of the trading range in this, right? Just like the schematic shows. You break out, and then you want to back test the previous highs of the trading range, okay? That is this range right here, in which we broke out, we back tested, and now we're coming back out, right? So far, so good. Everything's jiving, okay? Now, in the last few months, right, we've decently held this midline center line, right? We've dipped below a couple times, but in general, you know, it's not like we came back down to this line or even close to it yet. So that's got me fairly confident, especially in today's trending move, which includes on the weekly time frame, you've broken RSI center, right? Great. You have a flash that has gone off now, And so you would want to see price begin to push away from where it left. Looking at the all-time RSI channel or wedge that's on the weekly, right, from this the squeeze to the sneeze, you got 4 touches here. And then same thing on the bottom side, you got 4 touches. I really like this wedge here. Now, I think that there is potential that if we zoom in here, I think there is potential that we're going to find resistance once again on this line, right? I think that it's going to potentially coincide with the top of this RSI wedge. I mean, we rejected here, we rejected here, we rejected here. Odds of us rejecting here, probably pretty good, right? So wherever price is at, maybe it's only at 27 bucks. Maybe it is at 30 bucks, or maybe it's way up here at 35 or 38. But wherever it is, if we are near this top of this trend line, this RSI wedge on the weekly, I am absolutely going to take profit. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is clearly an area of a point of interest. Now, again, if you get an open and close above this this line, you know, that looks great. You know, then you're actually looking for these higher targets up at 44 bucks. So, out of curiosity, let's take some fibs here to maybe help us in this. So let's take one from here to here. Actually, no. I want the macro. I want from the top. Squeeze top. That's what we want. Squeeze top to the 995 roughly. So looky here, right? I don't think it's coincidence that the top of this trend line in this parallel channel matches up with the macro golden pocket. You are absolutely going to find resistance there. So again, if you open and close above this, expect to find resistance at that golden pocket. You will very likely find resistance there. So again, 382, you know, I think that let's switch to the daily actually, or maybe the 2-day. 2 days probably easier. So points of interest. Assuming we're going to keep going up and the 2-day gets into the bull zone, okay? You're going to have, and what I use, right, for these supply zones, because again, this was previously an area where buyers had pushed into, sellers took over and sent the thing down. So it's very logical to assume that this is going to be another area of resistance and there's going to be a seller and buyer battle here. So if we get to that zone, I am going to be taking profit here as well. And maybe this comes all the way back down to the previous range here to retest for buyer support, where you could rebuy for the next higher move up, right, here. And I say here because, again, look left. You have a demand zone or a supply zone there as well. So you know there's going to be a battle here as well at 30 bucks. So definitely take profit there. And now you're battling the long-term trend line as well, right? and you might dick around there for a while. With the weekly flash happening now, I would assume that any move up should be decently explosive and fast and violent. So this thing might actually just go bam, 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 bam up to 30, right? Very, very possible. But you got to make sure that we're taking profit where we need to take profit, because the thing can retrace just as fast as it goes up too. So we've seen that many times in the past of squeezes and sneezes. And then you got a big one here, right? This is your 34 to 36 bucks. My target is personally 38 for other reasons, not because of this 0.54 fib level, but for many other reasons. But that doesn't mean I'm going to hold throughout the whole thing, because what if this, you know, breaks above, and what if it comes all the way back down here or something, and you're still technically making, you know, higher lows here? Like, there's a lot of money in this move down, right? And in my swing account, I want to play this. So I'm going to take profits here. I'm going to take profits here. And if it comes back down, sweet, I'm going to rebuy that dip and go up. This is my plan, right? Doesn't mean it's right for everybody, but just know that there are several demand zones above us that are going to give us some trouble. I think that here, let's turn this on. Let's turn the this on and this on, and let's get rid of the drawings. Oops. Okay. So I kept saying that I need to see an open and close above 25 for me to be full bull, right? This is the reason why. This is a giant brick wall, right? These are all of the MAs, the 50, 20 MAs and Hall Suites from the 1 hour and up time frames, okay? This was and has been very, very difficult to break through. I mean, we've rejected it so many times, and now we try to finally make a push. And if we want to do it, I mean, we're right here. We got to do it now, right? And then obviously everybody saw, you know, after hours end up at like 24.80 something or whatever. So that's been my biggest thing, is I want to see an open and close above this brick wall for me to be full bull, right? I've already made my position, but this thing is going to get me hyped if we can get above that, okay? Because I believe that once you're above 25, I think that the move to 25 to, what is this, 26.37, you could argue 27 bucks. I think the move from 25 to 26.27 is going to be super easy right off the gate. But now you're definitely gonna run into some problems up there. So take profit often, you know, especially if you're doing it in just a swing account. But so far, I really like what is developing. I think the setup is there. If we look at the daily here, out of curiosity, let's turn some of this off. Okay, let's grab ADX as well. Okay, so the three big things for the secret recipe for the breakout, right? We talked about earlier. RSI above 50. Yep. Do we got volume? Well, we had the influx here to break us above the prior trading range. Bodied close above it. Back testing now. Here, right? Back testing this zone for selling or for buyer support. Buyer stepped in, said, yep, we're good to go. Off we go. And you saw the downward movement of volume here, indicating, this back test. And then you saw buyer step in, breaking that volume wedge here. So big volume, big green candle. This is harmony. Okay, it's exactly what you want to see. So volume, check. And then ADX, DMI. Both making a hot coffee. Check. We got all three. We finally have all three on the daily. It took us a long while, but we finally got all three. The setup is there. You need 25 bucks. You need an open and close, 25 bucks. This thing's gone. And by God, I mean, probably, at least 27 bucks, but the weekly just looks amazing. Like Jackie's talked about, you got wedges upon wedges everywhere. MACD, RSI, ADX, DMI, you got a wedge even. The thing looks just crazy good. And the time, if it ever needed a time to break out, it is right now. Taking all of those things into consideration, and now you have a flash going off from last week. You need to see that explosive move happen now. I wasn't gonna do this, but I'm gonna do it anyways. So we're gonna bring up root, right? And what, dude? Where is? What's going on? Oh, there it is. All right. So this is what I was cooking with. Let's change the daily. This is what I was cooking with on a root, right? And so you had your reaccumulation phase, went down into the spring, right? Came back up, tested prior what once was resistance for to see if there's any buyers that will step up there, right? And you had the same thing on Jimbo here, right? You had a dip below prior lows, recent prior lows, found its footing. GME back tested, didn't make a lower low, back tested, found support, starting to see that come out, right? Starting to see price action come out of that area. Supported by all the indicators as well. I think that the chain of events is just absolutely hilarious, right? Because I was looking at root here. I even drew the box O resistance from left to right. I looked at root, and I saw it had a giant gap down here to retest prior. There's a little demand zone or a little supply zone here. So it rechecked that, what ended up being a demand zone. Buyer stepped up, brought it up. And so the theory was that GME earnings gap down, question mark. And that's exactly what had happened. I thought it was just hilarious. Now GME ended up doing some bullshit. Came back up, faked everybody out, and went down further, but whatever. But the funniest part of this whole thing is that this is where the window started for insider buying on root. And so that's why I had wrote on this chart GME insider buy window here, and then I had posted the loading zone, just hilarious, and off we go. It's just so funny. It really is. Um, Anywho, um, I think I'm not saying that GME is gonna do this, but fuck, it could. uh, I think the chart looks great. It's got to go now if it wants to. It's got to do it now. I don't have anything further to say. We got a brick wall. Got to open and close above 25. Full bull. I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun to finally, hopefully, get the move that maybe we're all kind of looking for here. But I think it's passed all my tests right now, except just the one thing: open and close above 25, and I'll feel really good about this whole thing. So.